Welcome to this morning's Iran-U.S. Warcast update. I'm Malcolm Nance. This is part of the Black Men Spy intelligence briefing that we're giving every morning on the continuing U.S.-Iran war. I am with my guest host, co-host, Jacob Karsbo, Danish intelligence officer extraordinaire. And we have an inordinate amount of information today. So before we do that, a little administration. You will look down in the bottom and you will see a little heart symbol there. Press that 5 or 10 times, and what will happen is that as it gets through, it touches the algorithm and it tells the algorithm that this podcast is live and that people are watching. And it makes the algorithm work. So with that, let me start out. I was going to take a few moments to give people a little time to come up. I'm not actually seeing them. But there are way too many things happening in the last 24 hours for any of you to keep tracking. I know I could barely keep up with the madness that went on yesterday. Just insanity. Went to bed at like 9 o'clock, got up at 3 a.m., and I felt, holy cow, I should not have gone to bed. Just attack after attack, incident after incident. And then President Trump started going, how do I put it? A little disjointed in the mind, and started spouting out things that are going to have a strategic impact on you and your life.
And not in a positive sense.
Not in a positive sense, but
it doesn't point in a positive direction.
Not at all. But first, Jacob was not with us yesterday, and he's going to give us an update on the little place that it's some tiny little hovel dump that they let him come to for a briefing for old stale croissants and, watery espresso. Where were you yesterday, Jacob?
No, sorry. I was in the French embassy. The ambassador had invited me and some others to a briefing on the recent French-Danish nuclear sharing agreement, or the French forward deterrence that has been agreed with Denmark, Sweden, Poland, Germany, the Dutch and the Greeks, 8 countries so far, but more will be coming. And obviously, this has got a huge impact because, as I've been saying all along, when you agree something about nuclear deterrence, that is like the crown jewels of everything. That sits right at the top. And then everything from there trickles down, and it's going to have massive impact on European security and also our alliance relationships. Obviously, all the decision makers and also the French ambassador says this is all cleared in NATO, etc., etc. But if everything used to be as it used to be, it wouldn't be necessary. So, the thing is, with the Trump administration, we see the US disengaged from NATO. Basically, we don't believe them. And funny enough, if we talk about something that had a definitive impact on all this, it's what we call the Greenland moment, Malcolm, that happened this January when the Denmark and the Europeans put the foot down, sent combat-ready troops to Greenland to defend against a possible U.S. invasion. And this morning, coincidence, big in the press, we see there's clear evidence that this was really troops that were prepared to go in combat for real against U.S. soldiers. They were bringing explosives to blow up airstrips, etc., and they were bringing blood supplies and stuff. Not something you usually take for an exercise, NATO exercise, right? So so big things happening, but yeah. let's turn our attention to the Middle East. That was
Yeah.
why I was off
No,
yesterday. But
I needed that little mental health break right there
mm,
because for the last 6 hours, I have been going through the madness, and it really does show on my face. I'm not bitching because I have bags under my eyes. I'm bitching because I'm getting bags under my eyes. And I want to remind everybody, this should be your briefing for the day. Good God, don't try to doom scroll after this. It is really the number of incidents that have happened are off the charts. But more than that, we're not going to talk so much about combat as we're going to talk about economics. But first, for day number 20 of the U.S. Iran war, the casualty count has not changed that much. I still don't have a casualty count for Lebanon, but the Iranians still stand at about 1,500, U.S. at 14. They say now there is a report that the Pentagon's release of 200 wounded may be 50% lower
mm,
because you also have to include the 120 guys who got um, smoke treatment aboard the USS Ford when it had its laundry room fire. So interesting that.
yeah.
Israel
Let
stands at 18. That's +1. I'm sorry, did you have something for the Americans?
Yeah, and no, not for the Americans. Just I have some Lebanon, but you just
Okay,
go
good.
on.
In a moment. Israel was up one. A foreign worker was killed in a cluster bomb attack last night. Now we do have a story that we talked about in the Gulf states early on when the tanker Shafir was attacked in the Gulf. I said that a tugboat that came from the area of Abu Dhabi, Musafa, known as the Musafa 2, which was a deep salvage tug, had a crew of 8. We initially thought they had been killed and we put them on the board. Then we heard only 3 were killed, the captain, the first mate, and an engineer. We took 5 off the board. Today we confirmed they were all killed. Everyone on that tugboat, all 8 of the crew were killed. So the number has gone back up. So Gulf states and others is now up to 27. Um, and now Lebanon, you have new numbers.
Yeah, the Lebanon. It's 26 hours ago was 912 killed
Ooh,
and 2,200 injured. So it's approaching 1,000 mark killed. There have been reports of more casualties, more kills within the last 24 hours. So we're approaching that. Yeah,
okay.
unfortunately.
Yeah, we knew that. I mean, this is
And
Lebanon.
Iraq has gone up
Hmm?
to 58, and that is, I guess, the backlog we've been talking about,
Right.
because that has more than doubled in 24 hours,
Yeah.
and that was obvious because there was some delay in reporting. So
Well, all right. We have no systems losses that I can count, other than the fact that the USS Gerald Ford, due to the laundry room fire, which is always a problem on ships, guys. We always have these fires. They always start in the lint filters of the dryers. And then if you let that get out of control and the dryer burns and smolders, the funny thing is that I don't understand how it got out of control. There's always 20 people in these laundry rooms on these carriers. Always off duty, sitting on the dryers, reading comic books, whatever. That being said, the Gerald Ford is out chopping the Red Sea. That's salty Navy talk for leaving. When you come in, you in chop. When you go out, you out chop. It is out chopping the Red Sea. It's going to go back through the Suez Canal. It is going to head straight to Suda Bay Creek, which is a naval support activity we've had there forever, where I've been. And they are going to do repairs, transfer personnel. To be quite honest, a lot of personnel need to go home. They've been out almost 11 months. They're going to go for a year. Normally, these cruises are 6 months. So a lot of people have hardship, family issues, and it's the closest base that we could get an enormous amount of aircraft carrier supplies put on, because carriers are cities. They usually have about 6,000 people on them when the air wing is on board. So you need everything. and probably send all their laundry ashore too. So, yikes, one of those things. Set that aside. One of the first significant acts that I need to talk to you about today is the price of oil. I want to point out something that people are using. There are actually three scales of oil, right? There is what's known as the physical oil, which is on hand and the price to buy it there on site, like Salalah, Oman, or Dubai City, or Yemen, wherever it is you buy it, that is the physical price of oil. Then you have the resale price of oil depending on the region. And that I will show you a chart about this in a little bit. But what you most people are looking at is the WTI price. That is the West Texas Industrial. I used to live in West Texas in San Angelo. It was near all the fields up in Abilene and heading out towards the Oklahoma border and everything. It's just oil pumps left and right. The West Texas Industrial average, that is an actual contract price. It is not the price of oil that is being delivered. When that amount of oil, which is from America and it's not the greatest oil in the world, that price, which jumped from $67 a barrel to 93 up to 106, US released its oil reserves, went back down. That's contracted price for oil. When that oil runs out, it's going to meet the price of the physical oil. The physical oil in Oman this morning is at $150 a barrel. The Brent North Sea crude, which is a benchmark because it's so nice, right? Easy to burn oil, easy to refine. It comes out of the North Sea, Norway, Britain. It's really nice oil. This morning, that's at $114. Okay? That's the real benchmark because that amount of money from the WTI, which is contracted oil, and the physical oil up here, according to one analyst, is $63 difference. And as this oil here gets used up, it has to be replaced with this oil here, and the price will go up until it's all gone and it's here. And that's when the whole world will be at $150 a barrel. So that low benchmark is actually moving up every day as news starts to hit the market, shocks start to hit the market, refineries go offline. Things are getting out of hand. And this is why this morning, 99% of what I'm going to talk about is economic warfare. It went off the charts yesterday. And we talked a little bit about that. And I want you to take it with the seriousness of the look on my face and the shout of my voice. Shit is about to get very bad in the oil market. So fill up your cars, bring those gas tanks with you. Fill up, if you got a hopper around your house, fill it up because the things that are keeping oil low on the WTI are artificial. They're not real. The reality is it's already touching $150 a barrel, principally because refineries and oil facilities are being hit. And then Donald Trump keeps opening his mouth, and he is now ratcheting up the tensions in the Gulf so that people who are actually ordering this is why people call it the futures market. They're really nervous that there won't be any oil coming out in the near future. And they would be right. So today I'm going to tell you all the horrible things that are going on in economic warfare. But first, a recap. Yesterday,
I would say, I will add here, Malcolm, also, as we've been talking about, it's important to notice there's a backlog in all this. So it's not as if, let's just say for a second that 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 oil supplies will improve then there'll still be all these backlogs with the degrading production capabilities, because it's not as if you turn off, turn on again, and
Yeah,
etc.
yeah.
etc. So regardless, this has long-term impacts, and as we're going to talk about, just opening up for all the transit again is
Well,
is is a far way off. It's a far way off, and the
I
Iranians know it.
I saw that today the last tanker to leave the Persian Gulf with oil for Japan will arrive on March 22nd. So it took 3 weeks to a month, well, over a month for that ship to transit. But that's it. That's
Mm,
all the oil that's coming to Japan from the PG. That was pre-war oil. Now, so long as this lasts, if it took a month for that ship to get to Japan, every day there is no oil coming out of the Persian Gulf, which right now is 20 days. That's almost 20 months of sailing that is not going to Japan. There are going to be this giant wide opening gap from the last day oil was delivered till the next time plus 30 days the
mm.
next oil can be delivered. Now, go on.
No, no, exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So there's going to be this massive hole. Now, oh, Malcolm, that sucks. Can you make it sound any better? No, I'm going to make it
Mm,
sound worse. Things got exceptionally bad yesterday, and they can only go downhill from here. There's no
mm,
going uphill from
mm.
here based on the things that were said the last 24 hours. I know I've been giving you this teaser. Now let me tell you the horrible effects. We showed this yesterday that this is Qatar right here, that tan space down there. The blue is water, the green are oil fields under the ocean in the Arabian Peninsula, in the Qatar Peninsula as it's standing up, right? Qatar has half of this field. There are two natural gas fields. Orange is natural gas that is underwater, of course, because it is deep, deep, deep down in the earth that was made through the compression of dinosaurs and natural materials that created fossil fuels. One of those fossil fuels is the gas that is down there, which is tapped, which is burnable. Billions upon billions of metric tons of gasoline, of not gasoline, natural gas, right? That there are two fields that are the two largest distribution fields of natural gas in the Eastern Hemisphere. This field, the North Field of Qatar, right? This is the North Paris Field. Up here is the Iranian side called the South Paris Field. You notice that field is in the middle of the ocean, but there are pipes tapping it off and bringing it to the shore uh, to be processed. So the Qataris and the Iranians had two matching fields, right? And there's so much gas down there, it would take you hundreds of years of every day siphoning off that natural gas, which is why it can power the world in a relatively clean natural gas burner. Like my house is on natural gas. That gas comes from sources in the United States that's piped in there. But for countries that don't have this, what they do is they have processors that liquefy. They take that gas and they compress it till it comes into a liquid. Then they are put into these big domes for storage. And then that liquid natural gas, known as LNG, is put onto ships that are called liquid natural gas carriers. And you can tell them because they have these big domes on them, and they have the tendency to explode like atomic bombs when they're blown up. And one recently exploded in the Mediterranean because it was Russian and the Ukrainians attacked it with a drone, and it blew up so big in the middle of the night that it looked like an artificial sunrise from other ships. So that's how bad it could get. So we talked about this yesterday that Israel flew to the Persian Gulf and then attacked, whoop, there it is, this natural gas storage facility. If you look out here, that's water, right? And you can see the ships that are out there. This is the South Paris natural gas processing complex. And you can see those domes over there. Those are the kind of storage domes that we're talking about for liquefied natural gas, right? And they get put out there to the ships. The ships take them off. This is a big money maker for Iran. This field, the South Paris, produces 80 to 90% of all the natural gas exports in Iran. Completely different from oil, right? Oil, natural, viscous, tarry liquid pumped up, put into barrels. This is billions of cubic feet of natural gas. So Israel attacked it, damaged it critically to the point where Iran right now cannot put out any natural gas. Right after we left this show yesterday, Iran went out and put out on the internet via social media four oil and gas complexes in the Middle East. The four largest oil and gas complexes in the Middle East. And in a fit of really good psychological warfare, they said, get out of those refineries right now. It's coming. Already gone, already coming. Of course, the Saudis didn't believe it. Nobody believed it. And almost within the hour, ballistic missiles were showering down on Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait. But we know ballistic missiles are not their go-to weapon to get through. It's drones. So by the time I went to bed last night, which is about 9 p.m., these complexes that they had warned about, plus others, were on fire. Yesterday is arguably the worst day for energy on the Gulf state side in this war. So everybody got hit yesterday. The Israelis hit North-South Paris. The Iranians hit fucking everybody. All right, let me go through the list. Jacob, got any commentary
Yeah,
you want to
yeah,
add to that?
yeah. I mean, the important thing to understand is that once again, the Israelis and the Trump administration don't understand Iran and what they will do and the whole consequential logic of this war. They misread it all the time. Why? Because, this thing of striking Iranian natural gas installations hits the Iranian population. So
Yes.
it actually reinforces the ugly Iranian regime's argument that these are attacks against the Iranian nation and not against the regime that is hated anyway. So it's an own goal. And these people don't give a shit. I mean, they'd rather live on a rock. And they'll just, and they know the energy weapon is their weapon, not a weapon to be used against Iran because those guys don't give a shit.
Right.
We give a shit. So they know they've got us by the balls to put it like that. And this just reinforces the trouble and the consequences of what Trump and Bibi have started, and it's just the constant misreading of what will play into the Iranians' favor.
Well, we talked about this, that Israel clearly has another agenda. That is not the agenda of what America started this war for. And
Yeah.
it is a punishment agenda, almost as if they working for the Saudis or the Qataris or the Emiratis, which I don't think so anymore. And
No.
that's why I wanted Wajeeh. If Wajeeh comes up, can you let me know? That's why I wanted Wajeeh, because now we heard all of this talk in the last couple of days that the Gulf states were like, hit Iran as hard as you can, destroy all their military capability until we feel safe. That's never going to happen, right? And now I'm going to explain why. Here's what got hit yesterday. The Iranians, in retaliation, hit fucking everything. I mean, they went after everything. And I personally think that they were playing nice in a couple of places. So, first things first, Qatar. We talked about this, the Ras Laffan natural gas facility. The Ras Laffan natural gas facility produces 30% of the world's natural gas, right? 30%. Now, it's already bad enough that the refinery was cut off, right? Or, because natural gas couldn't come out on ships. By the way, that harbor out there between Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, full of natural gas tankers. Most of them are empty, right? But there may be some that are full that can't get out. That one that paid the bribe the other day, we saw that the Pakistani one,
Pakistan, yeah.
that was full. That one went right up to Iran, dropped a bag of money off the side, and then was continued through Iranian waters to get out.
Yeah.
But here's what happened. Qatar's Ras Laffan oil refinery was struck yesterday. I have video of it. Like all atomic bombs, it burned good. So let me bring that up. That is the single most significant hit of the day yesterday. I learned some things watching some of the oil experts about that refinery getting hit. That's Kuwait. Sorry, there's just so many places getting hit. So I'm going to show you this video. That was a ballistic missile. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to show it to you again. You can see it come down right into Ras Laffan. Oh, shit. Whoa! Oh, shit! इसमें इसमें किधर किधर सामने अरे शाबाश मेरे पीछे से मार रहा है. So that's the oil field workers who maintain these places. I'm going to show it again. This is Ras Laffan. And as he looks, you can see the ballistic missile hit. Wasn't a drone. So, Malcolm, how bad is that they hit Ras Laffan? Let me tell you how bad it is. Apparently, the machinery that they use to crack that, right, to get that natural gas processed and turned into liquid is made only in Italy by a very large company. This site had 8 of these units, right? Those units, when they were purchased, were $400 million each. The replacement cost of each of those 8 is now $1 billion each. There are 8 of them that now got hit and damaged and blew up. The refinery itself is a series of pipes, but it's these processors that make petrochemicals out of that. And it ain't just liquid natural gas. 95% of the world's helium, 35% of the world's nitrogen, which is used for fertilizer, anything other, like corn, that's urea nitrate coming out of there. We talked about this yesterday. What was the statistic on pharmaceutical chemicals? Most people don't realize it. Most pharmaceuticals, like acetaminophen and all these things, are petrochemical based. They're made out of oil. And I believe we talked about, I'm looking at yesterday's, about the number of material that's used in India. India is the largest generic drug maker in the world. And they get all of their chemicals for that from the Arabian Gulf, from the Persian Gulf. And I just want to double check on that statistics. Anyway, I'll find it later and we'll talk about it. So it gets worse. That's just one site. One site that we got hit. It's only because 30% of the world's LNG is coming through there. Yeah.
And an important point to add, striking the LNG facilities and limiting the supply of natural gas also impacts the oil price because this is the energy market. And for instance, in Europe, after we sanctioned Russia, we've been importing way more natural gas, LNG from Qatar. And now that's cut off. So that means the demand for oil is going to go up. So it's not as if these things don't impact each other, because they do.
Oh, they do. And it only gets worse from here. So let me go
Yeah.
back to the map, just to keep you guys informed of where these things are happening. I know we have a lot of imagery and I have to dance back and forth, but this isn't a PowerPoint. Next place to be hit was the United Arab Emirates. We spoke about this before. The United Arab Emirates runs a bypass pipeline from the south, near the Ruwais oil field down here, this complex down in South United Arab Emirates in a town called Habshan. So almost 2 decades ago, they realized that this was going to be a problem. They built a bypass pipeline from here to the oil port of Fujairah. We have seen there have been attacks in Fujairah, and Fujairah was struck in its bunkering. That is the oil storage tanks there. You saw they have been hit at least 2 times. Multiple tanks are destroyed. Fujairah announced they could not bunker any more fuel. They can't store your fuel. So your ship comes up, it's got to be pumped right to you from the Habshan pipeline onto your ship. Let's just move out there. So the Habshan Fujairah pipeline was struck yesterday in Habshan by drones throwing from the drone. I'm sorry?
The link didn't work for Wajeeh.
Okay, good. So anyway, Wajeeh is not going to be here. We had a link. We're going to call him up in a little bit, right? So that pipeline was hit. That was the lifeline for the United Arab Emirates. And they apparently blew up not just that pipeline. We talked about it yesterday, the Shah natural gas field down in near Liwa, down in the south, where we used to go desert bashing, camping in the winter and everything. The UAE is being hit in its most vulnerable places right now. They're not bothering with Dubai. They went after the Habshan Fujairah pipeline. And if that is ruptured and fuel is coming out of it left and right, oil, that's a loss. Every barrel is a loss. They are now going to go into trillions of dollars. So they got hit yesterday. Kuwait got hit in Mina Ahmadi and Mina Abdullah oil transshipment ports. These are the ports I've been in during the Gulf War when I liberated that place. We came in through Port Shuaibah and then went out to Mina Abdullah, Mina Ahmadi oil facts, which, by the way, were burning when I was there and created a smoke cloud so thick I saw no daylight for almost 3 weeks. Okay, no daylight. It was like midnight all the time in that place. Very, very unhealthy.
Old Saddam.
Saddam Hussein did that. He used that as the oil weapon. We have video of that attack, which is right here. This is the Mina Ahmadi complex. Yeah, I know that place. All those on fire, hit by drones. Right? Drones have a much higher success rate than ballistic missiles at this point. So the Iranians are using them full force. So that was Kuwait, their largest oil production complex. Then, now the bad part of this story. As if it was all good, right? Saudi Arabia had been cheating this by pumping oil from Abqaq up here, New Jubail, all the way across the country in an emergency oil pipe that they put in decades ago for just this emergency. This is the Abqaq to Yanbu port oil refinery. Well, Saudi Arabia got attacked with ballistic missiles yesterday and drones. They were all shot down, except someone missed the drone that flew all the way across Saudi Arabia and hit the pumping station at Yanbu. Yanbu is now offline. This pipeline is probably going to be out for some time, days, if not weeks. And all of those tankers that had diverted, we showed that the other day, what
And
that
that was
looked
a lot
like.
of tankers.
Yeah, it was. Let's take a look at what it looks like when all these tankers go from one place to another. There it is. This is a good route chart of how these tankers are coming up. Close. Go all the way down, ordered to go up to Yanbu through the Bab el-Mandab waterway, past Yemen, who didn't do anything, up here to Yanbu to get their oil, then on to your client, right? That's gone now. That route finished until the Saudis can get Yanbu port facility back online. If I was the Iranians, now the Iranians aren't stupid. They understand that, and I worked, full disclosure, worked for an oil company for a while as security manager in southern Iraq. The pipelines themselves are easy to fix, right? You just cut away, turn off the valves at the cutaway sections, cut that section away, put in new pipes, open the valves, pressurize the system, oil flows. It's the stations that pressurize and pump the oil either out of the grounds or out of storage tanks. Those are the things that are really valuable. And the Iranians hit the pumping and supply station at the receiving end, which was cute, not the pumping end, because you can just shut it off there. Now, all that oil is in the pressure, now the depressurized system. It is probably just flowing out and is now wasted. This pumped 7 million barrels a day, but for Saudi Arabia to stay afloat, they needed 21 or more million barrels a day. And Saudi Arabia had already cut its production. So now, Saudi Arabia's throat, almost literally, is being slit by the Iranians. So, Malcolm, is there any more horrible news in the oil economic front? Why, yes, there is. Because this wasn't bad enough that Qatar offline. United Arab Emirates, by the way, yesterday reported after that attack, they are at, ready? Zero. I count zero production of oil and gas. They turned off everything because the systems are being attacked and they don't want to lose those precious materials. Now they can't even use the Habshan route. Kuwait, major cracking points, in their city, right south of Kuwait City, Mina Ahmadi, Mina Abdullah, offline. And Saudi Arabia, thinking they were cute with that bypass, that's now out of commission, all in one afternoon. And you can't blame them. The Iranians warned them that this was going to happen and that everybody should get out and go home.
And it's not to say anything cute about the Iranians, but they probably wouldn't have escalated to this level had the Israelis, with Donald Trump's consent, regardless of what he's claiming, not attacked the South Pass natural gas installation.
Oh,
this was the cause of this escalation.
Yeah. Hey, just FYI, we're going to go long today. There's just so much coming, and Wajeeh is here. I'm going to bring him up after I finish. I'm going to bring him up after I finish the segment on merchant attacks. Okay. Woof. That was round one. Okay. Then we had one indication from a nuclear watchdog group that the Bushehr nuclear power plant, anytime I start a sentence like this, that's bad, right? We should not be talking about the Bushehr nuclear power plant because the Bushehr nuclear power plant has a nuclear reactor in it that's been running since we built it for the Shah of Iran and the Iranians rebuilt it for us. Let's go to the photos. There is a report that yesterday that while they were striking at South Paris, that the Israelis did what we would call a demonstration attack by dropping one piece of ordnance 350 meters. This is the nuclear power plant's dome, its core operating buildings, The most important parts of a nuclear power plant are these pumps and cooling systems. I don't know if this might be sulfur cooled, but anyway, over here in the middle of nowhere, near this empty emergency cooling basin, which you see are dry, and that would only be used if you were getting coolant out of the power plant that was radioactive and you need to move it, a bomb struck. And it wasn't a ground vehicle, it was an aerial device that landed and struck 350 meters from the nuclear reactor. All right? Now, it is attributed to Israel. I do not know if this is 100% correct, but a bomb crater did show up out of nowhere. And why would a bomb crater show up out of nowhere while Israeli aircraft are flying all over the place, blowing up their natural gas plant? It is said, according to Israeli sources, it was being sent as a message to the Iranians if they continue withholding material that their entire nuclear program can be done in. I have seen the Israelis hit a nuclear power plant, but it wasn't online, right? That was in Iran. They had a nuclear power plant, and they attacked it in 1979 with a bunch of F-16s, and then we attacked it again in Desert Storm with even more F-16s. No, Iraqi Freedom.
Yeah, Iraq.
This,
OCA.
Iraq, right?
Iraq.
Nuclear
Yeah.
power plant. This is bad because you should not even be playing around with this. You want to send a message, send a physical message. Do not accidentally strike shit near a nuclear power plant because it can get bad. How bad can it get, Malcolm? Well, this study, which was done about where the radiation would go if that dome is cracked, that would be the radiation plume out into the Arabian Gulf, South Asia, going off to India and Pakistan. The orange portion of this plume is high-level radiation, right? And you notice it would completely cover the United Arab Emirates, starting with Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Radioactive. Now, granted, you could have a million Pakistani workers with laundry hoses, car hoses, spraying it into the air and doing a nuclear material washdown like we do on ships. But this is crazy, not good, right? I don't know who has to listen to me in Israel. Stay the fuck away from this. You can do anything you want, but don't hit Bushehr nuclear power plant.
Yeah. And it's like when Putin and the Russians, put in stray mortar grenades just at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. It's the same tactics, the same crazy mind. I'm sorry to say I've never said this about Israel before, but this is really insane.
First, they denied it. And now today I'm reading reports from, like Times of Israel where they're like, oh yeah, send them a message. Send them an email. You could have done that you could have sent an email, right? Keep playing around. Bushehr nuclear power. Scram that reactor. That's what we call it when you shut down a reactor. Scram that reactor because that power plant is providing electricity to all of Iran and most of Iran and to IRGC bases. It's a network. You can't do anything about it, right? But tell them to scram the reactor and just don't bring it back online. But don't be dropping ordnance near a nuclear power plant. Because you know what that means, right? You're going to wake up tomorrow, you hit this place, and Iran's going to use its last 50 missiles to attack one site in Israel. One, the Dimona nuclear power plant and nuclear weapons storage facility. They've taken their shot at it, right? Even on October 7th, some of those Hamas commandos were trying to get up to Dimona, right? But hey, people, I've worked at a national nuclear command post. When you work there, you come out ardently anti-nuke. Okay, nuclear, anything bad. Nuclear power plants, getting your x-rays at the dentist. You don't play with this stuff, right? So that was the next item of significance. All I have written there is that it was 350 meters from the reactor, and my annotation is no bueno. Okay. No bueno.
No Putin tactics. No
Oh my
Putin tactics.
It can get worse. All right. So, can we get to the regular war stuff that happened? Then we're going to bring Wajeeh in and we're going to talk about Trump and his comments related to the liquid natural gas energy war. And that is even more insane than attacking that nuclear power plant. So, okay, merchant attacks. There were 3 merchant attacks that are now registered. There was one 11 nautical miles northwest of Corfacan, northeast of Corfacan, that's just north of Fujairah in the Indian Ocean. An unidentified projectile, which is what they're saying for drones because it was flying, struck the ship and set it on fire. No one was killed. They did a restrike yesterday. This you will find very interesting. They did a restrike on a ship that was already damaged, and that was the Safine. I believe the Safine Prestige. You guys might remember that video, that photograph. I'm going to show you the Safine Prestige just so that you can keep it in mind because it was one of the first ships that was struck by a suicide bomb boat. Here it is. No, that's the Maori. Okay.
Lev Parnas says good morning.
That's Safine Prestige.
Hey, Lev.
Hey, is Lev here? Hey.
Lev's here. Lev.
Okay. Too bad we can't invite everybody. But here's what happened yesterday. Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps high-speed boats have showed up. Based on this, that was seen on satellite. These are IRGC small craft flying around here. They have likely been in and out since the beginning of this war. But what they did, they either came up to this vessel, which was just adrift and at anchor, which had containers on it, and they either used it for range practice and target practice, or they put a limpet mine on it, but then they set it completely aflame, which means now everybody, it's almost like they said, hey, Hussein. You're like, yeah, Ali. And he says, that ship you damaged, the fire went out about a week ago. Can you make sure that it burns so everybody can see it? Yeah, I sent some boats. And they go out and they put it. So here's the vessel. You can see in this image, this is a satellite image, right? Here's the vessel. It was not on fire. It is fully engaged on fire to the point where you can see the smoke cloud from space. And around it, IRGC high-speed craft, long tails maneuvering, right? Not good. So they went back and they restruck the Safine. Then there was another attack north, just off Ras Laffan Naval Base, a natural gas base. Apparently, a drone struck a tanker. They were probably targeting a liquid natural gas tanker to see if it would blow up. The crew abandoned ship. It did not burn, and the UK Maritime Trade Office says that the ship was definitely hit. More interesting things here. This, by the way, that's a close-up of the ship burning. Let me turn this off. You can see it clearer. That's the Safine Prestige. More unidentified vessels. Another thing is the containers are falling off of it into the ocean, which the Iranians will like because now maritime salvage laws kick in and you can put a tow on that thing, tow it back to Bandar Abbas, and everything that's in it's yours, right? Hopefully it's Maseratis or something. If it's going out, it ain't going to be that great.
Hummus.
Might be dates and hummus. They'll hit the jackpot, right? So this was yesterday. In response, the United States sent B-1B Lancers and F-15s to strike on the Iranian mainland of the Strait of Hormuz, what they believe to be known underground anti-ship missile bases and bases with high-speed boats. Now, Iran has been at war for 20 days. What is the probability that all those missiles and boats are going to be in that bunker when America's out blasting everything? Right? About zero.
Zero. Zero to a half.
Yeah, 0 to 1/2. Maybe some derelict ones are there. What you do is, if you really want to bait them, you do what the Iraqis did. You take an old training missile that's actually empty, and you have it towed out front, and you leave it there for the satellites to see. And then what you do is you eat up their bombs. This is a GBU-72. This is the 5K penetrator. It is not the one that we dropped on the nuclear power plants. That's bigger. This one is 5,000 pounds of high explosive with a hardened nose. Here it is on the flight test of the B-1B bomber, and they're flown on one each on F-15E Strike Eagles. They apparently dropped, according to Central Command, several with the intent to take out these anti-ship missile tunnels. This, in my Navy man estimation, should have been a day one mission, right? For the U.S. Navy or somebody. Those cruise missiles should have gone, if there. To come and suddenly strike it a week after talking about opening the Strait of Hormuz, and it's mind-boggling. You left it alone.
3 weeks into the war, yeah.
3 weeks into the war, mind-boggling. So here is a picture of that. Some of the small boats that were inside it in January. You can see they have these little high-speed rev guard boats. That, by the way, that is a drone boat. That is not a fixed high-speed boat. That's a drone craft. Here are some of the goodies that were stored inside it. Now I'm on to page 2 of my notes of economic warfare. These are vehicles that carry 3 anti-ship missiles in them. Of course, they look like regular old white Kia Bongo extended flatbed trucks. If I were the Iranians, I would have bought 1,000 of these empty, and I would just be having them drive circles all over the country, Start, stop, go near the coast, start, stop. Have guys with binoculars look out there, make sure that the drones see you, then run away to a place that is nowhere near where these are actually at. Shell game with these trucks. Iran made these trucks this way over the last 20 years to dupe U.S. intelligence. And these things look like box trucks. They're white, but the launcher raises up, and you can see that they launch off an anti-ship missile called the Qatar, the Qatar 380. The Qatar 380 has a range of 600 freaking kilometers. That's 300 miles. You do not need to be on the coast to launch anti-ship missiles. The missile can fly. You could be against the Afghan border in the Baluch Desert.
Baluchistan.
Right? With the word Navy painted on the side of your ships. And these missiles will fly out to the ocean and at a pre-programmed point, drop down and start hunting for its target. And once they're launched, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully electronic warfare could do something, but jamming ain't going to happen until that missile is terminal. So if these guys are sitting out there drinking tea in the Baluch Desert or, they're doing part-time guiding up at Shestafan, right? He's Alexander the Great's palace in the middle of the central desert, and they go, Hussein, it's time to launch the missiles. And you tell the tour group to wait there 5 minutes, and all you got to do is go to the truck, power it up, raise the launcher, press the buttons, the missiles fly off, and you can go back and get your tips as you're doing your tour. This, by the way, this is a place I've always wanted to go. I will never be able to go to it. So amazing. This, again, is another example of those launchers in the site. You can see the triple missile launchers in there. Here's another one of them in boxed variation. They're not in this tunnel. They haven't been in this tunnel for months. Because if they have been, whoever ordered that should have been shot. Day one, they should all have left the tunnel. Oh, by the way, this is drones with Iraqi-style suicide bomb drones that were also in the tunnel, right? And thousands of these things prefabbed with a 2-pound block of high explosive on it.
Yeah.
And this is the
And
missile, by the way.
yeah. And Malcolm, just for our viewers here, the reason why we can say this with a very high certainty around it is because we have known how the Iranians fight asymmetrically for plus 20 years.
Yeah.
And they are damn good at it. And that's the unfortunate thing. And all this stuff is also common knowledge within the CIA and within the Pentagon, etc., etc. And the tragic thing is that Donald Trump and his administration have preferred not to listen to all the knowledge there is about asymmetrical warfare and how the Iranians, unfortunately, are damn good at it.
Well,
So they as we've talked about with the Navy and all their regular capacities, frankly, they don't give a shit about them in this context because they know that the way for them to make life miserable for Donald Trump and the United States is these asymmetrical tactics.
absolutely. What are you going to do? This is another anti-ship missile on a box. It's covered in a tarp, right? All you got to do is get out, raise the tarp, put up the blast shield, and go sit off, 5 kilometers, right? Don't be there when the missile launches and ripple off those missiles. Go back, have a cup of tea, and maybe you can get resupply. But you've got a load of missiles. Don't tell me that these guys had 1,000 anti-ship missiles. And here's the worst part. I'm reading my memoir, and right now, I'm going back through the Arabian Gulf battles, the minesweeping anti-ship missile duels that we had. And the biggest problem that I had as a black man spy was the inherent racism and cultural ignorance of the officers above me, who were like, oh, they're just a bunch of Arabs. They're just a bunch of they would say it. They're a bunch of towel heads. They're not smart. They think everyone's fucking Wile E. Coyote here. Okay, these people are intelligent, thinking entities who have prepared for 47 years for this fight. There is a surprise out there we just haven't had. And every day, I keep being more surprised about what's not happening. Now I've seen the small boats out there practicing, having a grand old time, shooting up the Safine. Tells me we're not seeing those boats on radar. We aren't. And by the time we do, they're all the way back in, Kishem village or Bandar Abbas, right? Getting a Turkish massage, it's getting a fix. So we don't have the capability. If I'm seeing those boats today by satellite, those boats have been out there every day, right? So, it's another thing is Trump is out. We sank the mine layer. I'm going to show you the Iranian mine laying ships. Here's what he said the other day.
Did he say that? Did he say
Yeah,
that?
we sank all these mine layers. This is a Boston whaler with rails that were prefabbed. So technically, any boat that can do dual Yamahas can get this rail system mounted on it. Then all you need is a crane to put in the mines. That ramp drops and they go 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't need this. Okay? You can do it in those small, what we call FIACs, FIAC, fast inshore attack craft, which were clearly out for shooting practice at the Safine too. I'll bet you they just put a limpet mine on the side. Bonk. Big magnetic mine. Come on, let's go. Everyone go out, zero your weapons on that giant super tanker, right? So that's been going on for some time. The problem is, here is an assortment of Iranian naval mines. I finally found some good imagery. These are limpet mines. You see these suction cups? They're not suction cups, they're magnets. This thing has a giant magnet on the bottom. This has a magnet on the bottom. We put it under the water on that ship and bluey, right? We had an incident 3 years ago where IRGC went to a ship that its divers put a limpet mine on. The ship was too high in the water, and IRGC patrol boats came out came alongside and pulled the limpet mine off of it. It's like, hey, we're not going to give you an unexploded mine, right? These guys aren't stupid. Here are some of their other mines, their bottom mines. These are moored mines. We talk about those, the big spiky. This is the Sadaf 07. No, Sadaf 08 mine. That's the kind that the ship, the Samuel B. Roberts, that I had to go into a minefield with had struck, right? Even worse, we had to go in and tow them out. I showed you that photo, right? Of us towing the stricken Samuel B. Roberts out of a minefield. But to do it, you got to go in the minefield. It was unhealthy. I did not like that morning. But this is what they have. This is a torpedo style mine, right? Releases a torpedo or hovers in the water and propels itself to you. These people aren't stupid. And if you think we dropped 20, 30, 40, even 1,000 bombs and we got all of them, hey, I have been in a destroyed country where I found shit everywhere, you know?
Exactly.
And all they needed was a Kia Bongo pickup truck to go bring it and a small boat to go push it over. You could even put it in a small dhow because these things are about 500 pounds. And you could go out in the water, you and a high-speed boat, and you could sink the skiff, right? You could sink it. Just poke a hole in it. Other boat comes over, you get into it, the skiff sinks, the mine's in the water, the chain mechanism release, it all goes underwater, and that mine is about 30 feet underwater waiting for a ship to happen.
Yeah.
Our biggest problem is that we do have this mindset of where we are omnipotent. We can do everything, and that's bullshit. The enemy will always surprise you. By the way, I just wanted you guys to see this. This is called Don Zhu, the Sun Tzu of modern war, right? Send the minesweepers away if you really need them. Because all of the U.S. minesweepers are in Asia. By the way, to be fair, they left Malaysia. And
Really?
yes, they went to Singapore.
That's good.
They're all at the Long Bar and the Raffles Hotel knocking back Singapore slings. Holy cow, what is going on here? Apparently, they're waiting for the amphibious force, and then they'll go back. But no one will drop any mines in the next 14 days. There won't be 1,000 mines in the water, so why not be knocking back Singapore slings and Mai Tais?
Yeah, and but what about the amphibious force? How far away is that?
They are nearing Singapore. So those
Finally.
minesweepers are going to join up to them and head up there. 3 amphibious ships, 2 surface-to-air missile defense destroyers, and probably 2, eventually all 3 of the minesweepers will create the amphibious task force for the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. All right. Let's bring on Wajeeh because it's time to talk some politics of the Gulf. So give me a moment and let me invite him. Okay, let's see him come up. In the meantime, I will bring up Donald Trump's Truth Social post from late at night, like 2 in the morning. Let me see.
Was that the one about it was Israel's fault, or?
Yes.
But then again, but there are probably some people that believe this nonsense.
It gets worse. One analyst I read yesterday called this the single worst thing Donald Trump could have said. Not only does he throw Israel under the bus, then he triples down on what Israel did.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
dares
I will
Iraq.
destroy. I will destroy.
Yeah, if you're in
Off you go, mate. Off you go.
I need Wajeeh to come up. So, in the meantime, because he'll discuss it, he's seen this. I'm going to read you this tweet.
But one thing we can say for certain, Malcolm, also that these threats, the Iranians don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care, and they'll even when it's about energy war and hitting Iranian energy supplies, they'll even say, okay, be our guest, Donnie.
We can build that back up, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of the way, and we can read this. I'll read this for the audience here. Let me see something. Oh, yeah. So this was put up by Donald Trump last night, and it's crazy. Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of the whole has been hit. The United States knew nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that it was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Pars attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. In caps, no more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field, unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case, Qatar, in which instance of the United States of America, with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars field at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. I do not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications that it will have on the future of Iran. But if Qatar's LNG is again attacked, I will not hesitate to do so. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. When I shout, that's because he's in all caps.
It was like 5 days ago when he threatened to bomb all of Kag Island oil infrastructure.
No, he did. He bombed Karg Island because Karg Island was the single largest aerial attack in the history of the Middle East.
Yeah,
Don't
but
forget that.
in that Truth Social post, he said, "We didn't bomb the oil infrastructure, but we will do that if the Hormuz Strait isn't opened."
Yeah, hold on. I'm inviting Wajeeh here because I gotta get his take. This is now kooky talk, as we always say. Wajeeh.
There he is.
Wallah yava. Shusar وياه عندها رئيس مجنون ما اسمك I don't hear you. Hit that audio button. Use your earplug.
He's frozen.
He's frozen now. Come back. Well,
He's frozen.
I will send you another invite.
It was all the Arabic you were talking.
It was too much for him.
That
He
made
was like,
the screen
man, you
freeze.
suck. Your Arabic sucks so bad. Everybody thinks I'm Sudanese. I don't know why. But let's see if we can get him back. He's trying to come back up. Oh, my God. All right, people. I want you to absorb what Donald Trump did there. One, he threw Israel under the bus and claimed he had no idea this was going on, considering we control all the airspace. And we, in fact, invite one guest. Sometimes it's hard getting these invites if you don't clear your invites. It's very hard. So, but he threw Israel straight under the bus and then said, we didn't know anything about it. Yeah, we control the airspace. Israel immediately came out and said, yeah, you coordinated everything with us. We got your permission to strike the South Paris natural gas field. What are you talking about, Willis? So, what you talking about? Yeah. So immediately Israel came and threw him under the bus. The Pentagon also came out and said, we do everything in coordination with Israel and our Gulf state allies. right? And technically, yeah, we did it.
We send the invite?
In a moment, yes. So,
Some commander in chief there. Yeah.
Holy cow. And then he comes back and he goes, okay, we have this saying in survival, evasion, resistance, and escape school. When you are in a resistance situation, that means you're captured by the enemy. And the enemy has the advantage. One thing that you don't do, never issue a personal challenge to your enemy. Because they'll go, what? Oh, you don't think we can do this? Okay, all right. Ali, Hussein, do you think we can do this? Yes, boss, we can do it. Okay. Let's see what time it is. It's, what time is it? It's 10 here, plus 9 hours, 11, 12. It's 7 p.m. there. Let's do it in the middle of the night tonight so they can't see the drones. Okay. We could end this program. Somebody quick check Twitter, check X. We could be ending this program with like Ras Lafan being leveled at this point. I mean, all completely on fire. Wajeeh, are you there?
Yes, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Now I don't see you. But this may work out better for us.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
If your video is not showing, please just give us your take. You read Trump's tweet, right?
Man, I actually missed Trump's tweet. I couldn't hear you reading it.
Wallah. Okay, you
well,
gotta
I was
hear.
off and on.
Okay, I gotta read this again because it's madness. I'm gonna read it again. Last night, in the middle of the night, he tweeted, Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Paris gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of the field has been hit. The United States knew nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that it was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Paris attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. Yeah, by the way, Ras Lafan got blasted last night. No more attacks will be made by Israel. When I shout, that's all caps, right? Pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Paris field, unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case, Qatar, in which instance the United States of America, with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Paris gas field with an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. I do not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications that it will have on the future of Iran. But if Qatar's LNG is attacked again, I will not hesitate to do so. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump.
That's hilarious because I was on several of Twitter Spaces yesterday, and I spoke with members of the GCC and like specifically geopolitical analysts, and they all expressed how disappointed they are with very disappointed with their alliances with the United States, specifically Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia with a little bit with the United States and a lot because after September of 2025, when Israel hit Qatar, Qatar made a specific alliance with the United States also in September, where Trump gave Qatar a higher protection than NATO.
Right.
And in the same time, also in September of 2025, Saudi Arabia made an alliance with Pakistan, a strategic mutual defense agreement, where if Saudi Arabia is hit, Pakistan is also involved.
Well, apparently Pakistan left its wallet at home because they're out escorting their Iranian oil from the Eastern Strait of Hormuz to Pakistan. They ain't letting nobody get that oil. All right. They
So
apparently forgot about that contract.
exactly, you could like feel the sentiment of like despair and upsetness and betrayal like by these Gulf nations. They spent so much money investing contracts and political agreements and military agreements with other nations, and when push comes to shove, they all stepped aside and said, not my business. And even Qatar, that has a higher protection status than NATO, all Trump did was throw out some threats,
Threats.
and
Sorry.
these. So
Go on. Are you getting feedback?
yeah, I was getting some feedback. These threats that Trump is throwing out is not good enough in the eyes of the Qataris. The Qataris are like, well, hold on. What you mean we get a higher protection than NATO? We get how many rockets sent at us? We get how many drones sent at us? And you're only sending threats out there on your Truth Social? Excuse me, like there's like some reality check that these Gulf nations are having for the first time, and they were very much expecting. So like if you look up what kind of defense treaty Gulf nations have, one of the first things that will come up is, the Patriot Pact 3, the TID, the United Air Defense, and the other thing that will come out is all the U.S. troops that are stationed in these Gulf nations. Well, guess what? These troops and these bases have become a target and have made these Gulf nations targets. So now Gulf nations are sitting like, maybe we shouldn't have all these U.S. bases in our nations, because now we're responsible for protecting ourselves and responsible for protecting the Americans. We're supposed to be involved in this war when we didn't choose to be in this war to begin with. So I sat down with them, and a large part of these geopolitical thinkers on one hand said, yes, we blame the Americans and the Israelis for this war, but if they went this far, we don't want them to end the war until they have disabled Iran's government and the Iranian military to the point to where they cannot respond and make any other attacks again.
Right.
That is their thinking at the moment.
There's a lot of differential thinking going on here, because yesterday all the foreign ministers of the Gulf states, all the Arab states, met together in Riyadh and pretty much said that they want Iran to stop. But they didn't say anything about, oh, we'll stop bombing you, or we'll have the Americans stop bombing you. They just came out and made this generic statement. And just the day before, the Saudis came out and made a statement that the United States was responsible. Not Saudis. The Saudis said that they're willing to defend their territory and maybe organizing the other Gulf states to do it. This could escalate, and here's why I'm worried it's going to escalate. Yesterday, someone's Mirage 2000 fighter was over Shiraz, and the French say it wasn't theirs. Aha. And the only other people that operate Mirage 2000s is United Arab Emirates and Qatar. So if the Gulf states are getting their sea legs doing these long distance combat air patrols over Iranian airspace, they better be prepared for the Iranians to not keep, if they think they're going to do drone interdiction in and over Iran, that will really expand this war. And it's already expanding.
I can certainly tell you that Qatari thinking has stopped becoming defensive and more becoming offensive. That's for sure. That's the conversation that's being had.
Can they afford it? Because it looks to me like a couple of $1 trillion here is going to get wasted. The Iranians probably spent, what, $100,000 destroying a $10 billion oil facility yesterday. And as I learned from the company that built that refinery, to replace those systems will be 3 to 5 years. That's how
Yeah.
long Ras Laffan's going offline for.
So let's remember a little bit of history of Qatar. Qatar invented and worked with not it is they paid the scientists that invented pressurized liquid gas, and for a longest time they had the access to it. So replacing all that technology that they had for a very long time that they got for cheap is now for billions of dollars. And that is going to put a strain on the Qatari economy. But the Qataris now not only want to get their nations protected, but they also want revenge.
Well, listen, and I'm going to make an administrative note really quick here. I know we've gone over today. This evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm doing a special for subscribers only, paid subscribers only, which is on the next steps of escalation the IRGC can do. Remember how I said this war could get worse? There are several steps that could get way worse. And those small boats that we saw out doing shooting practice and setting fire to the Safine ship that was out in the Strait of Hormuz, that's the first sign of it. Because if them tiny little boats are out there now, that means they've been out there the entire time. And they can drop 1 or 2 mines, whatever they want. It can get way worse than this. And I'm not talking sea mines, okay? Way worse than this. And just yesterday was the first time we actually attacked their hidden caves, which they've been waiting 47 years for us to attack, and probably closed the entrances with those bunker-busting bombs. But the Iranians said they're 500 meters underground, not 500 feet, 500 meters underground in a mountain that's on the coast. And there may be 7, 8 exits to that place. So listen, I know we've gone long. I know it's a lot to digest, but I want to cut it here. I'm sorry, we forgot we have a couple of questions. So let's knock out some questions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions. But hey, if you guys want to learn about what comes next tonight, unfortunately, Jacob, I didn't invite you. I didn't want you up at midnight in your town.
No, but
we'll do one together also. I know you have one today.
I'm doing a special also for paid subscribers at 3. No, it's got to be 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock
What's your subject?
European time. I'll make a tour of what's been going on also, but also Iraq, Lebanon, and that whole cross section with the Shia, etc. I'll also get a little bit nerdy, just to show people I can be a little bit of a nerd about the Ayatollahs.
Is this in English or Danish?
No, Danish nerd, a Danish Ayatollah nerd. Yeah.
Okay,
so,
listen.
And a few anecdotes from Baghdad, of course.
I completely forgot that today Iran stopped sending natural gas to Turkey from its Caspian Sea fields, and they stopped pumping natural gas into Iraq from western Iran. So now those 2 countries are cut off from natural gas. Turkey will be impacted the most. We'll take that up more tomorrow. Okay, so you guys have 2 shows you can watch. You can come back and please watch Jacob. If you didn't get enough this morning, and don't forget to go to that gray little circle up there, press it with your finger, and under where it says Black Man Spy, and all the pop-up boxes for subscribers will come. I am trying to reach 100,000 subscribers, so if you know people that aren't subscribed, please ask them subscribe. I know you're subscribers because you're on here. Let's go to some questions.
I'm trying to reach 8,000.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, you got a long way to go.
Thank you for having me. I'm trying to reach 3,000.
You'll get there. Don't worry about it. Okay. Laurie Jack Shamashuk. were the reported loss of the 3 U.S. F-15 Strike Eagles to a single Kuwaiti fighter flying a legacy F-18 Hornet included in the casualty list. Yes, we included those fighter jets 2 weeks ago. That I understand that pilot may have been arrested and may have had anti-American sentiment, and that those may have been 3 actual air-to-air kills in favor of Iran. That has not been confirmed, but that's what people in Kuwait are saying. What do you think?
Like we were talking about already when it happened. Is this a green
Okay,
on
next.
blue?
Robert Bender says, is Crete in range of Iranian missiles? Crete, no, it's not. Will Congress authorize a draft, says Annie Hall. No, that's, what is that? Cliff Pullum. No, maybe. Trump is crazy enough to do it to try to bring everybody into his national fervor. He was really angry, according to Axios, that his poll numbers did not go up the other day when he launched this war. He thought this would put him in the George W. Bush. Somebody convinced him he would be getting 89% approval from the American public. It's crazy. Andrea D., did you guys see the pictures of the food that the sailors in the aircraft carrier are given? I've eaten that food. I know sliders. Okay, that's double burgers, plain patty with the condiments bar, baked beans, and French fries. When you're running out of food, sliders is what everybody gets, right? Undercooked, not enough, strangely moldy colors. Hey. David Feldman, why doesn't the U.S. close Iranian shipping or their approved multi-pass customers? Thanks, by the way, Jacob, of putting that in your article. Easy Pass. Now it's bigger than Easy Pass. It's multi-pass. Yeah. Multi-pass. Because they get several things with that. They get to go through the Iranian islands and out of the mined areas, right? They don't get attacked by boats. They don't get attacked by any ship missiles. That's multi-pass. Easy Pass is just those ships that go right down the middle. I'm not saying blow up escort ships. You can't, because that goes to our biggest allies. India is now the biggest mover of Iranian oil next to China.
Yeah.
So how does a Scott Hunter...
And they don't want to, you don't want to pick a fight with even more. I mean, the U.S. is in enough trouble in Iran as it is. So, if they try to block India from buying Iranian oil, it's going to be even worse.
Scott Hunter asked a very good question. How do these mines slide off the ship without impacting the sides and blowing them up? So here's a little mine warfare lesson. You see these little ramps here? Those are not loading ramps. Those are distribution ramps, right? They're mine dispersal ramps. That falls and will come at an angle like this, and it looks like to be about 10 feet off the ship. They pull a cotter pin off the first mine. That mine is on little wheels, and it will roll down a guide off that ramp, and you see this little ellipse down there curving like that? It will fall off the ship as the ship is moving, and it weighs about 500 pounds with its sled about 800 pounds. This is full of chain, right? The mine will go into the water over here and then immediately sink. This boat's continuing on. So you do like this. You go, mine 1. The guy goes, zoop, zoop, bloosh into the water. You move up about 20 feet, mine 2, whatever your distance is. The separation is generally 150 feet to 300 feet, depending on what kind of mine field dispersal that you want. Mine 4 goes off that rail. Mine 5 goes off that rail. And I think we showed the type, skip through our photo library here. Whoop, nope, went the wrong way. And these Iranian mines that they had, the Sadaf 08s, which look like they were from World War I, is because they are from World War I. These designs are so effective, they never change them. See these little wheels? That's what's rolling down the ramp. And even on that tugboat mine layer we showed you, the Iraqi one that we captured at the beginning of Operation Iraqi Freedom, when they open the side door, there's a ramp that flips down and the mines are pushed out one at a time. So that's an excellent question. Okay, Dave Feldman, why doesn't the U.S. threaten Iran with destruction of their LNG? They just did, and that will probably lose all of the oil and gas production in the Arabian Gulf, and your gas prices will go up to $15 a gallon. This is crazy. What needs to happen is we need to put a stop to it, right? And we cannot win this war militarily. You'd have to kill all 93 million people, or at least a million-man army. Not happening. And they're doing it all from the air. All right. Malcolm, could you walk to the flight deck without a cup of coffee and not spill a drop? That's salty Navy talk. Yes, absolutely. No problem. Where's my coffee mug? Right? That's me. Me. Can I borrow that cup? This is me.
Navy guy.
This is Malcolm Nance's supervisory position. I just walk all day with a cup of coffee. And when I go low, I grab a sale and I go get me a cup of fucking coffee. All right. Don't clean my mug. I haven't figured out the whole thing of not cleaning the coffee cup. Okay. Is there any coordination between U.S. and Israel? That comes from Joan. Yes. How long will this war last? Asks Cindy. A very long time, because it is up to Iran to determine when this war stops, not the United States. Mary says, what is Israel's sources of energy? They also have natural gas fields off to the side. I've been to one of their largest power plants, which, believe it or not, is just north of Gaza, right on the border. Nuclear power and solar.
Yeah.
Can
I say something about the energy? The energy markets in Israel and all around the world. If you notice, everyone is now trying not to sell oil to other countries and hold down the oil and gas energy as much as possible. And that's because everyone is preparing for war.
They're hoarding, and this is getting bad. And you saw that yesterday we reported that China, 100% block on all fertilizers. No one can buy fertilizer from China. So if you're an American and you go to Tractor Supply and you expect your rose fertilizer to be there, ain't going to be there this spring. China has banned the export of all fertilizer because the Persian Gulf was the number one source of nitrates for fertilizer. Surprise! This is going to suck for everybody. Might the U.S. or Israel use an electromagnetic pulse? It's possible. But if things are shielded, or these guys have rocket-propelled grenade launchers and rifles, they can still get into little itty-bitty boats and come out and do that. If we use an EMP, the entire world will condemn us and this war will end. Also, electromagnetic pulses don't limit themselves to borders. You could knock out all the power of the Western Arabian Gulf. Crazy. It would be mindless. It's a nuclear weapon, by the way. Will this increase the rise of the draft? We already do that. Okay, that's it for today. Tonight, I want to invite you.
Last points from my end, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I had a few points written, and I forgot to mention them. Just as Americans are not ready to sacrifice their soldiers on the ground for the war at Iran, Gulf nations are not willing to sacrifice their people. But my studies have shown that if there is a large Gulf casualties, or if there a huge major damages to major infrastructure like water, all the water desalination and all of the oil infrastructure, do not be surprised to see Gulf nations enter that war. Thank you.
They can enter that war aerially. But I mean, if Abu Dhabi thinks they're going to go back and seize Abu Musa Island, kill the IRGC on it, they can do that. The Iranians will be back someday. And they got long memories. Look, they're still fighting over freaking 657, the split in Islam. Hey, I got one last video to show you. This is about the economy and how it is just woefully unpleasant what's going on. And this is how it will impact the markets. This analyst is not playing games. So let's listen to this and then we will sign off.
Jeff Curry of Power writing this: the cost of rebuilding and recovering from the Hormuz shock will be enormous and underscores the regime change towards physical assets. Jeff joins us now for more. Jeff, welcome to the program. It's always good to catch up with you, sir. Fluid environment. So allow me to go through the headline of the last 5 or 10 minutes or so. One headline, one report coming from Iran that their energy assets have been struck. Now, I have limited information beyond that, but Jeff, from your standpoint, in the week since we last spoke, has this got worse or better?
Worse. I like to call it molecular contagion. Last week we were talking about shortages in Singapore. Prices of jet fuel spiked to $230 a barrel. This week, it's in Rotterdam. Rotterdam's $220 a barrel. Thailand, Philippines, New Zealand, Australia. So this thing's going intercontinental. And then, so you look at Singapore, Rotterdam, the spread, there's no more price spread. There's no more spare barrels. There's no policy fix. And it's just physics at this point. And I want to emphasize these are physical supply chains. And that the idea of around financialization and the ability to print money doesn't apply here. And I think the title of that piece says it all. You can't print molecules.
Jeff, with that in mind, where and how do you think we're underpricing this risk still in financial markets?
That's the peculiar thing about this is that you look at the paper markets, they've entirely disconnected from the physical markets. Crude oil on an Oman basis, on the other side of the strait, the side that's free, spiked to $173 a barrel yesterday.
Yikes.
Delivered in Asia is a blend of Dubai and Oman, which is trading somewhere around 130 and 170. Today, this morning, they're call it 120 to 150. So you're delivering crude into Asia at somewhere around $130 a barrel. Product prices are spiraling above $200 a barrel. So the disconnect is between the paper market, which is sitting around 100, and the physical market, which is showing a very different environment.
Jeff, some people have speculated that's because of certain types of manipulation in the futures market, and that's the reason why you have seen this gap blow out. Do you think there's credence to that?
You could argue that Monday last week, there was a mysterious 11 million barrel seller. I don't want to get into that. It's not enough to really change the dynamic. I think that the bigger factor that was likely driving WTI and Brent at staying lower is the price of Urals, Russian crude oil. It's rallied $65, $70 a barrel once they took off the sanctions. So WTI and Brent were the high cost barrels. The Russian was the cheap. What happened? You closed that gap. And now that you've closed that gap, you don't have any more spare barrels in the system, and this rest of the complex likely to start to rally. I go back to the point that John started with is we're dealing with an enormous supply shock. And by the way, the supply shock is almost equal to the demand shock during COVID. And we know what that did to global supply chains. So I think at $100 a barrel, this thing's mispriced. This thing against the physical market.
Yikes.
Yeah.
$100 a barrel. Mispriced.
Yep.
Trading at 156 in Oman. That's the oil that's free. This is going to get a lot worse. All right, guys.
I
hey, listen, thank you guys for coming. Don't forget, $200 a barrel could happen in the next week. If we do amphibious operations and try to seize the islands in the Strait of Hormuz and mines are there, that means no one can move for weeks. The war will be raging. Ay. Okay. Jacob, tell us again about your program this afternoon. What time?
Yeah, it's at 4 Eastern. So it's 9 o'clock Central European time. I'll be talking about, obviously, the war as such, but also get a bit nerdy on the Iran, Iraq, Lebanon connections and how Syria fits into that picture and how we should actually be very, very happy that Bashar is out of power and there's a different regime in Syria now, because that would have made the whole thing worse.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I'm sure you heard that report that the United States was trying to goad the Syrian government into getting into the war in Lebanon on the side of Israel.
Oh yeah, exactly. That was as insane as the Kurdish suggestion. Some of these.
You guys talk about that this afternoon. When you're done with Tim at 6 p.m. Eastern, I will be doing a paid subscribers only special, which is I will be answering all of your questions about what is coming next. And I'm going to show you 4 escalations in sequence. If you see them, is bad. Okay. This war can get way worse than it is right now. Okay. Thanks everybody for coming. Look, we almost went an hour and 45 minutes. See you tomorrow. You will see our link. Please don't go try to doom scroll this and gather this information yourself. It sucks. You don't want to be doing this. It will freak you out. So let us do it for you, and we will see you tomorrow.
See you all.
See you tomorrow. Bye.